I'm so excited to be a part of this 20-Minute Tuesday extravaganza. I'm excited to talk to you today about dog training, which is one of my passions, but I'm also excited to hear what other people have to say and use this as an opportunity to get to know people a little bit better, especially when we're forced to be apart. So like I said, I wanted to talk about dog training. I learned that I really liked dog training in middle school when I got the opportunity to work for a day, just one day, at the Guide Dogs for the Blind headquarters in San Rafael, California, where I grew up. And I got to learn how they work with dogs and teach them some pretty amazing things. And so I immediately went home and I started working with my family's dog, which was a miniature schnauzer named Elsa. Yes, Anna and Elsa, long before Frozen even existed. And I taught her things like high five and roll over in the way that I had learned at the Guide Dogs for the Blind headquarters. To this day, I really enjoy dog training. It makes my brain think a little bit differently because I've got to figure out how to show a different species what I am trying to communicate with them. I still wish that I could just speak their language and understand what they have to say, but I can't do that yet. So I'm going to switch gears here and I'll talk a little bit about my dog Bugsy, who was supposed to be a foster, but now he's stuck with me for life, and he has taught me just a ton about dog training and really helped fuel that passion of mine. So this is my dog, Bugsy Malone. I got him from one of the LA city shelters about 4 years ago, and at the time they said he was probably 6 years old, so he's now about 10. He came into the shelter as a stray, and he actually had an untreated eye condition that had caused him, since it was untreated, to be completely blind. So who knows how long he was on the street blind, but now that it's treated, he can see. You can definitely see that he uses his eyes to look at things like these treats that I'm using to bribe him to sit up straight. I learned pretty quickly when I brought Bugsy home that he was super well behaved inside the house and already had a basic understanding of some obedience commands, which was super helpful. But when we went outside into the wider world, it was pretty obvious that he had not been socialized very well because he did not like new people and did not like new situations. His first response is to growl first and then ask questions later. He, if anything makes him even a little bit uncomfortable, he does start growling. So we work every day on helping him to get used to new people and new situations, and the basis for how I work with him on that is a set of cues that I've taught him that help me communicate with him about his environment, and then a set of commands, obedience commands that if he's going to make a poor decision on his own, I can tell him to do something different instead. My ultimate goal is to have him be able to make socially appropriate decisions out in the wider world, but for now, because his history hasn't set him up for success on that, I've got to help give him some guidance. The cues that I use to communicate with Bugsy are also sometimes called markers because they really can be used to mark a specific instance in time and give him information about that. The words that I use are yes, for letting him know that in that moment when I said the word yes, you were doing something that I liked and you can come get a reward from me. I also have a marker that is the phrase get it, which means that in that moment when I said get it, you did something that I liked and now you have access to go get a reward somewhere other than from me. I also have a cue good, which means sort of like warmer in the hot and cold game. It means you're doing the right thing, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get an award. You'll get a reward. And then I also have a cue which is to basically the opposite. It's you're doing something that's not quite right. I need you to think a little bit differently and figure out what I'm asking you to do, and then you'll have access to a reward. I'm going to show you here how I practice these cues with Bugsy. I taught him in a pretty similar way. We practice a couple other ways too, just playing games, but this is pretty common. Are you ready? Good. Good job. Good. 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 Yes. Are you ready? Good. Get it. Yes. Get it. Yes. So those cues are different from commands in that the cues are giving information to my dog about where a reward is accessible, or whether or not it's accessible, or whether or not I like something that he's doing. The commands are a set of words or phrases that I use to tell my dog what to do. And so they have a different meaning, and I have created that meaning in my mind. And my job, training my dog, what those commands mean, is to translate that picture of what I'm expecting of my dog when I say the command to him, so that we have the same expectation about what I'm asking him to do when I give a command. So I wanted to recently teach my dog Bugsy a new command. I wanted to teach him to go onto a cot-style bed and lay down and stay there until I released him with the word okay. And I wanted him to do that when I said the word place and pointed to the cot. So that is the full picture of what I want him to recognize when I say place, that's what I'm asking him to do. So I have to build up that picture for him so that he understands that full chain of actions is what I mean when I say the word place. Similarly, something as simple as sit is actually, the way that you teach your dog that is you create a picture for them. So it sounds simple to say sit, and then the dog puts their butt on the ground. But I can actually teach my dog inadvertently or on purpose that sit means he puts his butt on the ground and it stays there until I tell him to do something else, or he puts his butt on the ground and then he can lay down or roll onto his back or whatever, as long as he's in the same physical vicinity and he's staying put until I tell him to do so. Or a lot of people inadvertently teach their dog that sit means you put your butt on the ground for an instant and then that's it. So you have to make sure that you're translating the picture that you want the word to mean to your dog in full, and build that up for them, especially when it's something more complicated like going to a specific bed, laying down, and staying there. That way I don't have to tell him up, lay down, stay. I can just say place, and it means that whole scenario. So the first part of the picture of teaching him place that I want to show him is to get up onto the cot, lay down, and stay there until I let him go. The way that I do this is through luring, which is the game where he's trying to get at the treat in my hand, and I can move him around to different places. And the reason why I chose that for this is because he's used to doing things like getting up onto things and off of things and laying down by me luring him. So none of these things were new things in and of themselves. It's just the location that he's doing it to, and also the word that I'm eventually going to put onto this is new. So the individual actions themselves are not new, but the overall picture of when I say the word place, this is what it means, is new. So that's one of the reasons why he catches on really fast. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. The second part of the picture that I want to build for him is that he stays laying down on the cot no matter what else is going on around him. So I start adding distractions, and the easiest thing for me to do to add distraction is to throw treats and not have him go get them. So he already, again, he's at an advantage. He knows that when I generally tell him to sit or lay down, that he's supposed to stay there until I tell him to do something else. So he's already at an advantage, but what I do this first time around is I will drop the treat initially close to me so that I could put a foot on it or block him otherwise from getting to it. Good job. Good job. Okay. So, like I said, my dog did catch on to the first part of this pretty fast because he already knew similar behaviors. So he kind of already had an idea of what I was going to ask him to do and what I expected of him when I did ask him to do something. So that went pretty quickly. What I don't have video of is the time and time again that I repeated these things over and over again because I wanted to make sure that he wasn't consistently making mistakes before I added the word place. And what I did was I also don't have a video of me increasing the duration that I ask him to stay laying down because that makes a really boring video. And if I speed it up with a time lapse, then it's just too fast and you can't see anything that I'm doing. Boring, the contents of the boring video insert here, and that is that I have him, I lure him onto the bed, I have him lay down in a similar way that you just saw, and then I go about my business doing some other stuff and periodically check in to reward him for doing the right thing. I keep an eye on him so that if he does choose to do the wrong thing, I can calmly just bring him back to where he needs to be and show him what I'm expecting of him. And then the other part of the duration as well is I can add distraction into that also. Generally I work on the two separately first, so I add distraction, which is the treat throwing first, and then I ask him to do it for longer without additional distraction, and then I combine them. I also want a part of the picture of the word place to mean that it doesn't matter where the cot is, he's going to go to that to lay down. So I practiced it in different parts of the house. This just happens to be the easiest place to film it. And then I also practiced outside, which also adds a level of distraction just because there are birds and squirrels and people walking by. And so I systematically choose where in the yard to practice depending on whether I want more distraction or not. There's a corner that's more quiet versus a side where he can see all the people walking by. And so I know that the one where he can see the people walking by is going to be much harder. So I have to reward him more for that and pay more attention to make sure to block him from making any mistakes. So the next video is me actually practicing outside with Bugsy in that more distracting corner of the yard. And you'll see that I have a collar and a leash on him, and sometimes I step on that leash because I'm anticipating that he might make a wrong decision to get off of the cot. And so that leash and the collar is really there just to help me to block him from getting off of the cot, or if he does, I can easily guide him back to where I want him to be. You will see him making mistakes in this video, and all I do is I give him the cue to let him know that that's not what I'm asking him to do. And if he still seems confused, then I give him a little bit more direction with kind of the luring to let him know what I want him to do without saying the command again. I only want to say the command place once. This is actually the first video where you've seen me say the command place, and that's intentional. I do all of that building of the picture first, and then I say place, and then follow the same protocol again, repeating it over and over again. That way I built the picture first, and then I say, okay, now I want you to create that picture when I say this word. So this is the first video where you'll see me say that, and he does need a little bit more guidance. Mistakes are good. It means that he's really thinking in this case, because there are distractions around and he's really thinking through, paying attention to me rather than those distractions. I like that. I like him being able to make that decision to listen to me rather than go after the other thing. And I don't mind, having to give him a little bit more guidance in order to be able to show him that, yes, this is the picture that I want you to create, and no, that behavior is not a part of it. So it does give us opportunities to work on building that picture and making it more concrete what I mean by the word place.
Are you ready? Place. Good. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good. Okay.
The last video here is me making sure that we're working on kind of rapid fire use of the word place, so that I know that he's distinguishing that from other commands that he already knows. So I'll show you this clip, and it's kind of fun because it's high energy, because the reward that's on the table that I release him to at the end is to go get dinner. And at the end you'll see my dog go excitedly to go get dinner, and that'll be me releasing you guys too. So to have the rest of your evening day, whenever you're watching this, back to yourselves. So I want to say thank you very much for watching and listening, and yeah, if this is interesting to you, I'm always happy to talk about it and learn more, and yeah, talk about my experiences with my dog Bugsy. So thank you very much for sticking around with me.
Are you ready? Middle. Good. Place. Good job. Go to bed. Good job. Place. Good job. Middle. Good job. Good job. Go to bed. Over. Good job. Place. Good job. Go to bed. Good job. Place.
you.